All right, this is the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots post-game show. Shaw's and Star Market make shopping, ordering online, and saving easier than ever. Download the Shaw's Deals and Delivery app or the Star Market Deals and Delivery app today. Alex Barth is here. I'm Joe Murray. Alex, the preseason is over.
We're almost there. There's one more step of the preseason process, which is roster cuts. Which for every tweet I got tonight, how are you watching this game? This game doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. That is certainly an important step. I dare you to tell me it's not. And then we're on to the Raiders.
We'll get into a little bit of that later on and who's on the bubble. There are plenty of takeaways from the game tonight. And, of course, you can call in at 617-779-0985. They gave up 42 points tonight. Now, it's a preseason game, right? Tommy DeVito had 3 touchdowns. If you really want to have we got to talk about the games, right? They had a really bad third quarter, 21 points, and then they gave up another one in the fourth quarter. I know that guys are battling for jobs. Some of these guys we won't see anymore, but I do think that's a point of emphasis of the game tonight where they gave up 14 points in the first. They had a little bit of a comeback, and then the wheels fell off. I don't think Mike Vrabel maybe anticipated that or liked what he saw.
No, I was thinking that during the game. I can't imagine Mike Vrabel looks at that second half in the third quarter specifically and approves of that. They've talked so much about, and I heard you and McCarthy talking about this on the show last week, effort and finish, right? Not a lot of effort and finish there in the second half. The Giants won that second half a lot on effort. And I think Mike Vrabel is going to take note of that. I think that's going to be a coaching point. And the bigger picture is the guys that were on the field there, not a lot of them, are competing for a spot, whether that be on the 53-man roster, whether that be on the practice squad. And I think Mike Vrabel's going to look at some of those guys tonight. You had Marte Mapu. It wasn't a full-on fight, but he has to get separated, pushing and shoving after a whistle. I don't want to just single him out, but plays like that, that's the first one that comes to mind. Where's your head at in that situation? So I'll be interested to hear what Vrabel says at the podium. I cannot imagine he's happy with the effort his team put out in the second half in that game.
Do you think anyone cost themselves a job tonight, like Kyle Duggar in the previous game? The last play, that was inexcusable to actually take the ball out and not just go down.
Yeah.
But we'll get back into him. But let's hear from Mike Vrabel. He's at the podium, which is presented by Oakers Technologies.
The decision to approach the game you did with Drake and
try to, strengthen the roster every way we can. There's a couple options, right? You can, try to trade for players. You could try to claim some players next week. So, again, we're always going to be trying to strengthen the roster, and that's what we'll try to do here over the course of the next 10 days.
Your thoughts on the joint practices, the preseason games, and the training camp, and where you're at now as you get ready for the season?
Well, I think it's a good example. Where we're at, again, is still building and developing. But you can see when we were able to do these things in other games that happened to us tonight, we're able to win. And so it's a clear and easy example to show the team that when we give up X plays or we have penalties on defense, that's going to lead to scores and touchdowns. When we can't get into drives, we're gonna struggle, and then obviously the turnovers. When we turn the football over, we give up big plays on defense. So it'll be easy to teach from, just to show where we were in other games, and then where we were tonight.
Mike, what are you happiest with? Over the course of the last month, from your first practice where you are tonight.
I think that's probably a tough question right now. Disappointed with just how we played or executed. But I think that the guys, that there's glimpses of, football in which we'd like to play it, and, continuing to improve each day. We're so far from being where we need to be, and just trying to get that message across, stringing one good day together, put another day together. So we've got 4 big days this week that we'll really have to work.
Kicking wise, how do you feel Andy is hitting the ball?
Well, I mean, I think he's hitting the ball okay. I think that we needed to try to, we expect to make those kicks, and we'll just have to kind of see where this thing plays out. Again, we got 2 kickers that we have a lot of faith in, and I think he, again, swung it pretty well. I just don't think that it went in. It wasn't, obviously straight enough. Last week's was just disappointed in the operation, in the manner in which he, got out there in a timely fashion and kind of rushed it. So, that I thought improved, but we didn't make the one we needed to make, the long one tonight.
So a lot of peppers out there. Was that just because he hadn't played in the preseason yet, or something else behind the playing time there?
Well, no, just again, we got to have 11 out there, but wanted to see him play with Craig alongside. He's played a couple. Pep's played a couple different spots, and wanted to just see him play safety alongside Craig. He's played some in nickel. He's played some in the box on third down. He's played some different places, and really where we tonight wanted to see him was alongside Craig, playing safety exclusively.
Same thing with Keon. We saw a lot of Keon in the first half. Why is he on the field, whereas other guys who've been starters or first team guys not out there?
Because I decided and talked to Keon and wanted to see him work on some things and continue to develop and try to continue to improve. And he was excited about playing. He wanted to play more. That's kind of our whole job, is to be ready to play and prepared until told otherwise. So, just try to work on some things that we had been talking about and do it in game action.
Mike, we asked about Kyle Duggar about a week ago, what he could do to see more top reps. And I think he said something to the effect of continue to learn, progress. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, I think that he's, continued to take advantage of the opportunities and the reps, and I think he's feeling more comfortable. We talked about a long rehab process in the offseason that he committed to, but it wasn't, wasn't a quick rehab process. I mean, he had surgery, and so I think that he's gotten better. I think he's improved. I think he's feeling better. It looks like he's feeling better on tape, and so that's good to see. Those are all positive things. Making a play. 2 interceptions. I thought he, I thought he flashed. I thought he triggered. I thought he tackled. I thought his length showed up. All these things, and we didn't blitz anybody tonight. We didn't do any of that. But just playing in our base scheme, and those things I thought showed up tonight.
Mike, is there anything important the next 4 days, just sort of to keep in mind before what happens on Tuesday?
Well, I mean, we put a lot into this, into the players and getting to know them, and the roster is going to change, and that's part of the business that we're in, and we always want to make those transactions as respectful as possible, and but that's part of the game, and that's kind of the life we've chosen. So. There'll be some conversations that we'll have with players over the next few days, and we'll keep those obviously very respectful, and hopefully some of those guys can either end up back on our team or somebody else's.
Mike, there was a report today that Jalen Pope will have to have season-ending shoulder surgery. Can you add anything to that?
No.
I know you said that.
I don't know, other than I'd like to find out where some of these come from. Some of these rats around here, so we'll figure that out.
I know you said that you wanted to, or that you were going to finalize the offensive line once it becomes clear. How do you feel the competition at left guard is going? Do you feel that you guys are nearing a decision?
Full disclosure, I had that conversation with Zolak just earlier today, so I don't think any time from the time that I talked about it today with him till now has gotten any clearer. But if it does, I'll let you know. No, I know. That's okay. That's why I was telling you. I only made that comment to him 8 hours ago.
That's a pregame interview.
Okay, pregame interview. Sorry.
Mike, what encouraged you about this team? Obviously tonight was not what you were looking for, but where you're at now, what do you think going into this regular season? What do you like about your football team?
I think that we started to have an identity. I think that we, again, you have to put it on tape each and every day. And I thought that, we were heading in the right direction, and it doesn't matter who you play in this league. It's got to come from your team. Your team has to look a certain way, whether it's the first string guys or the guys that are trying to build some depth and be, multiple position backups or whatever that special teams players, role players, that has to carry through. So, I liked where we were starting to go defensively and having some, showing some glimpses of the team defense. I liked our ability to take it. I thought our special teams units had done some nice things. We didn't have as many opportunities tonight. And there'll be some young players that I'm excited about that maybe we haven't heard a whole lot from that are continuing to improve.
Last question.
Mike, speaking of left guard, it seems like Caden cross-trained less than some of the other guys. Any reason or thinking behind that?
Well, we'd always hoped that he would be in that competition. Got injured, missed a few days, and came back. So gave him a large opportunity there at left guard today. That's kind of where he was starting to make strides, I think, in the offseason. And, we'll just continue to coach him. And, he's gotten reps at other places in practice. And, maybe that hasn't shown up as much in the games.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Safe travels.
All right, that was head coach Mike Vrabel in his press conference. Powered by Ogres Technologies, our coach knows a winning playbook is the key to success. And when it comes to your company's technology, the Ogres playbook has been unstoppable for over 100 years. So get future ready with Ogres, proud partner of your New England Patriots. We will react to the Mike Vrabel interview. Alex Barth is here. I'm Joe Murray. You are listening to the Shaws and Star Market Patriots postgame show here on the Safety Insurance 98.5 The Sports of Patriots Radio Network.
Wooldridge takes the shotgun snap. He's looking left. He throws it for the end zone. The pass is going to be caught by Jeremiah Webb. This time the pass is on the mark.
Back here on the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots Postgame Show, the drive of the game brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. We'll help you manage life storms. How about that, Alex Barth? A little pass from Wooldridge to Jeremiah Webb.
Yeah, rough night for a lot of Patriots tonight. Jeremiah Webb, one of the few players that goes in the up column, had a really nice punt return, 22 yards. Doesn't do it justice, the amount of guys he made miss on that return, and then makes that nice catch through a little bit of contact. Good ball from Ben Wooldridge as well, who overall struggled tonight. I thought we might see a little more from him, but that was a good throw. Jeremiah Webb's come on strong here the last few weeks. He had a big kick return last week as well. I don't know that it's enough to earn a spot on the 53, especially with some of the depth they have there, but a player that I don't know was even in the picture for a practice squad spot when camp started, and now looks like a player they should probably keep around in that role. Could be a useful guy on the scout team. Maybe if a couple wide receivers get banged up, he's somebody you could elevate for a week. I think he's definitely played his way into some sort of job, some sort of paycheck the last couple weeks. It might be on the practice squad, but he's going to be around somewhere.
Went to South Alabama.
Yes.
I believe. Vrabel was very excited for him scoring. Did he jump in the stands?
He did. I did not think Vrabel was going to like that either, but...
No, he was pumped up for him.
He did like a Lambeau Leap style thing.
All right, let's get to some of the stuff that Mike Vrabel said. I'll just start with a couple of things. He mentioned how on a short week they only had to dress who they could.
Yep.
He immediately talked about roster, waiver wire moves, and trades.
Yeah, and the question there was, how do you feel about the roster? And he instantly brought up trades in the waiver wire. So I've talked about this. I think there's going to be external positions. There's a couple positions I think you really look at for that. Offensive line, especially tackle. Will Campbell and Morgan Moses are going to be your starters, and I think you're okay there. But Morgan Moses is 34 years old. He's kind of been limited throughout this camp. Will Campbell's a rookie. Your only backup that looks like a lock is Marcus Bryant, who's a 7th-round rookie. I would think you want to keep one more tackle to bolster the depth there. Defensive line, their backup defensive line did not have a good night tonight, especially against the run. The Giants ran for 4.6 yards per carry, and that's factoring in a couple, give it up plays at the end there to run the clock. They were up closer to 5 late in that game. They have 5 guys, I think, that you have on the team right now, or 4 guys you have on the team at defensive tackle, and Barmore, Milton Williams, Kyrus Tonga, Joshua Farmer, the rookie. I think Jeremiah Farms probably has a shot, but Joshua Farmer's a rookie. He's been banged up so far this summer. Christian Barmore has an injury history. Do you want to keep another guy there? It looks like it might have been Isaiah Ayton. He goes on IR last week. It feels like they could use another defensive lineman, especially defensive tackle. Linebacker. Again, just 3 guys are going to make the team in Spillane, Gibbons, and Ellis. Tavai's been hurt. He's maybe your 4th, but he hasn't practiced in a few weeks now. And there really isn't anybody else. Was waiting to see if maybe Monty Rice or Cam Riley or Marte Mappa would make a run at it. I don't think any of those guys have to the point where they'd be rostered. So that's a spot where you're maybe looking to add somebody externally. And then a sneaky one is safety. For all the conversation we've had about Kyle Duggar potentially getting cut, if they move on from Kyle Duggar, whether he's cut or traded, right? Their safeties are Jabril Peppers, Jalen Hawkins, Craig Woodson, and then if you want to count Brendan Schooler. So that's 4 safeties if we're generous, probably 3. That's not enough safeties. Marcus Epps had a rough game tonight. Didn't see a ton from Del Pettis. Those would be the guys on the team you're looking at to take that next spot. But if somebody gets cut or somebody's available for trade, there might be somebody competitive in that skill set who's on the waiver wire or is on the trade block that they can add and bring in. So I would not be surprised if we see multiple external additions here in the next few days. Really, maybe it's not by the time the 53 gets set. It's more so by the time week 1 rolls around in that Raiders game. But based on the way Vrabel talked tonight, they're still planning on making additions.
So a couple other things you mentioned just real quick. Peppers did play tonight. It was interesting to see a couple of names.
Yeah.
Peppers, Woodson, Keon White, Alex Austin, both Wilson and Brown on the offensive line, and Kyle Duggar, of course. But he said in postgame he wanted to actually see Peppers at safety. He's been playing a lot of slot, right?
Yeah.
Nickel corner. So
I think they want that big nickel, which is ideally where Alex Austin goes, but they've been experimenting with different things.
But him and Woodson, that's not a good sign for Duggar. Like, they wanted to see both of them play. I think Woodson might be their only... I shouldn't say that because Jalen Hawkins can play there too, but he's more of a special teamer, right?
Well, no, he's run a ton with the defense this summer, but he's a true free safety. I think it's about the box versus that kind of, I forget what they call it, like joker or just free roaming safety guy that's going to move around, do a little bit of everything, maybe cover some tight ends. I think it's how Woodson and Peppers play off each other in those roles with Hawkins behind him. I still think we might see some three safety stuff this year, like a decent amount of it.
Yeah, and I think Peppers too, when he's healthy and on the field, he's an impact player.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So maybe they just want to make sure has the durability to still play safety and do other things.
And he hadn't played so far in this preseason where they played their starters the first two games. They actually played their starters more than a lot of other teams did this preseason. Peppers, though, he was dealing with something, I think, last week, something minor. So maybe just to get him the game reps, too, and get him in the flow of things.
All right. We have more. He said a lot of things, Mike Vrabel.
Yes, that was... like I said in the open, I don't think he's going to be in a particularly good mood after that game.
Also, something... Rats? I don't know. He said something about rats. Maybe
I don't think he's happy with it. Some of the stuff that's come out in the last 24 hours about their bubble players has come out.
All right, we'll have more of the Shaws and Star Market Patriots postgame show. But here is Alex Barth with your Sports Hub headlines.
Sports Hub.
Right back here on the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots postgame show. Alex Barth's here. I'm Joe Murray. Hoping to hear from the quarterback at some point. What'd you think of Mr. Wooldridge tonight?
I want to see a little bit more from him. He played a good first 2 games. I thought he was a little erratic at times tonight. You kind of saw some more of that inexperience, which, again, for a guy that was in college for 7 years, you ideally don't want to see a lot of inexperience, even though he didn't have a ton of starts. Didn't have a ton of work with. Javon Baker, there were a couple passes he had that Javon Baker dropped that didn't help, but I thought he might put up a little more of a case to maybe land a roster spot. After tonight, though, I think it's practice squad or he's off.
All right, well, let's hear from the quarterback, Wooldridge, which is brought to you by your New England Chevy dealer.
Tell us about Jeremiah Webb. Seems like he's a kind of a character.
He's the best person ever. He's awesome. Like, if you ever need to laugh, if you need somebody to talk to, like, go to Webby. That dude's awesome. And honestly, he went to South Iowa, which is a rival of UL. So, like, at first I wouldn't talk to him. But then, right, get to know him through OTAs, get to know him through the couple weeks we had off. And he's, like, the best dude ever. Just great personality and great football player.
What you've been through in these 3 preseason games and through training camp, how much hungrier are you to get into the NFL here and establish yourself?
More than ever, but I don't think that ever changed because right from the start I was hungry, right? Like, get an opportunity, run with it, and yeah.
How much have you enjoyed being part of the quarterback room anymore?
I've enjoyed it a lot. Drake's an awesome guy. Dobbs is awesome. Dobbs has seen it all, been through it all. Any question, anything that comes up, go to Dobbs and he'll have an answer.
Was Mom able to make it?
Mom was here. Yes, sir. Of course. She flew in, left this morning, Cali at 6. Got here about right before the buses were leaving at what time? 4. She got to the hotel at like 4, saw her for 10 minutes, and then we're on the bus and saw her just right there.
Do you have any, obviously, it's going to be a tough week for everyone. Do you have any thoughts before Tuesday?
I think, sure, you look too far ahead, you'll kill yourself, right? Or like, no, that was bad. You look too far ahead, it'll eat you alive, right? Like, so just take it one day at a time and see what happens.
Awesome.
Oh.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, man.
All right. Everyone wants to go home, I guess, tonight, huh? Good for Wooldridge, who maybe sneaks onto the practice. They're not going to keep 3 quarterbacks.
Well, no, you need to keep 3 quarterbacks in the building because you need a scout team quarterback. And I think he's done enough this summer that they don't need to go look for a scout team quarterback elsewhere. I think you can trust him in that role. I thought coming into tonight, maybe there's a chance, and Mike Reese had kind of floated this too in something on social media today, that like maybe does he snag that 53rd spot? There is some value in keeping a 3rd quarterback, whoever it is, because it allows you to use that emergency 3rd quarterback spot on game days. I don't think the performance tonight put him over the top, though. He, to me, has done enough to earn the practice squad. He hasn't done enough to be anything more than on the practice squad.
He gives me Danny Etling vibes without the speed.
So I had compared him to a slightly better Brian Lewerke earlier.
Oh, yeah, from Michigan State.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, look, I think he's good enough to run the scout team. I think he can handle that role. He's smart. Like, he understands the game.
It's ability.
Right. It's just physical.
Speaks well.
Traits, so.
I guess.
So, they shouldn't need to go scrambling to find a practice squad quarterback. He's in the building, at least to start the season. But he's not going to be on the 53 after tonight. I don't think so.
Well, the quarterback interview presented by your New England Chevy dealers and the Chevy Silverado, where dependability comes standard. Let's get into a few more notes here from Mike Vrabel. He mentioned 3 or 4 spots would be available. I mentioned the players that are playing tonight. Before the game, he did talk a little bit about not being excited to name an offensive line. We did see Ben Brown back out there tonight. If you had to, did anybody earn the job on the offensive line? And I wrote these down because I wanted to talk about these. City So, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know, but I think I'm over the City experience. The other one is Cole Strange had a horrible holding penalty literally almost on the goal line.
Cole Strange had a rough night.
That is unacceptable.
There was that. He had a bad snap on a screen that Wooldridge had to corral. He just got beat a couple times, just like linemen get beat. It wasn't anything. He didn't get blown by, but he was just losing against the Giants backups. I don't want to say Cole Strange is off the roster. If I had to guess right now, he's not making the team. I still see the path for him. That's mainly them being concerned about Garrett Bradbury, which the fact Garrett Bradbury did not suit up tonight, I think is indicative of the fact that he is your week 1 center. That competition's not opening up, at least not to start the season. Once we get into it, who knows a couple weeks in if he's struggling. But I don't think Jared Wilson or Ben Brown is going to get the chance to catch him here between now and the Raiders game. It's just going to be which one of those guys is starting at left guard. And if you have, let's say it's Jared Wilson, right? Just because he started the game there tonight. Jared Wilson's your starting left guard. Garrett Bradbury's your starting center. Ben Brown's your backup, multi-positional, can play both spots. What's the role for Cole Strange? Ben Brown has clearly passed Cole Strange at this point.
Absolutely.
So unless you're going to keep 2 backup interior linemen, which you'd only do if you're concerned about somebody higher up on the depth chart, it's tough to see where Cole Strange fits. And again, you look at the performance tonight, did not help himself.
What do you think about the left side being both rookies to start the year?
I think the position they've put, it's not ideal. I think with the position they've put themselves in, though, what scares you more? 2 rookies next to each other or a rookie center making calls in this offense?
Yeah, and here's the deal. Remember, the Josh McDaniels offense, the quarterback makes most of the calls when it comes to protection.
Most, but not all, and the center's helping him with that. There's a part of that. Look, ultimately, I think it is a thing, but you need to have your best 5 linemen on the field. That's what it comes down to. It's an old Dante Scarnecchia thing. Just find your best 5, even if you have to move guys around, and it will usually work itself out from there. Their best 5s with Jared Wilson on the field, and it's left guard or center. Like, that's where he plays. So I don't think you sacrifice having your best 5 out there just because it's 2 rookies. Like, it's not an objective thing, but also sort of is. If you feel like they're capable, then they're capable, and that's who you should have out there.
There was one final thing that Mike Vrabel said regarding the competition and of someone that was drafted a year ago, and Caden Wallace. What was the quote? That he wished that he could have competed for the position?
Yeah, I don't know if we have that. I think it was something like we had hoped he'd be in that competition. He got hurt. It sounded kind of past tensey.
Oh, we have that.
Do we have that?
I'm paraphrasing, but if you got that, Kevin, I'd love to hear that because it sounded past tense. You're right. It sounded to me like he had an opportunity. By the way, this is a guy that was a standout right tackle at Penn State.
Yep.
Olu Fashanu on the other side. Let's hear from Mike Vrabel.
Mike, speaking of left guard, it seems like Caden cross-trained less than some of the other guys. Any reason or thinking behind that?
Well, we'd always hoped that he would be in that competition. Got injured, missed a few days, and came back. So gave him a large opportunity there at left guard today. That's kind of where he was starting to make strides, I think, in the offseason. And, we'll just continue to coach him. And, he's gotten reps at other places in practice. And, maybe that hasn't shown up as much in the games.
So Wallace was a guy that started camp as the backup left guard, and his role has shrunk.
He even said because he was a tackle.
Yeah.
He said he liked playing inside. It was something he said in camp.
There were a lot of people that thought he was a guard ultimately coming out of the draft. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's had a smaller role as the summer's gone on. Vrabel mentioned he looked good in the offseason, so that's talking about spring practices, and he's cooled off as he's had to learn this position. I think some of that is they stunted his growth last year. He should have never been working at left tackle. There was no reason for that. They spent too much time on that. But you listen to that Vrabel comment, that doesn't sound like a guy he plans on having on the team. And we just went over the backup interior spot between Ben Brown and Jared Wilson and Cole Strange. City So is somebody, I know you said you're sort of out on City So. Mm-hmm. He's somebody whose usage has kind of increased as the summer's gone on. I don't know to the point where he's ultimately going to be on the roster, but had more of a role. Like, He played earlier tonight than he's played in previous preseason games. He got more run in practice this week than he got in practice in recent weeks. I think Caden Wallace might have just slipped out, and he doesn't have that multi-positional versatility. He doesn't play center. I don't think they see him as a tackle. So you need versatility to be a backup lineman in this league. He's not there. And just to put the cap on the conversation, Joe, if I can real quick, the other draft pick that I got some questions about tonight, I don't think he even played tonight. I'd have to go
Layden
back. Layden Robinson has not shown up really once this summer. He really hasn't played. He's not going to be on this team. I don't know if he's going to be on the practice squad. I think they're just done with him. This is a guy that started multiple games for them last year, and he can't crack the third string right now.
I'd like to look back at the draft from last year later on, because
I think tonight's an appropriate night to do that.
I just don't know how many are sticking around, except for maybe Drake May.
I mean, a couple guys are going to stick around on IR.
Yeah.
So sort of by default.
Ooh, speaking of that, I do think that the quote, so many rats around here, a couple of things I would like to touch on that, and it's regarding maybe players on the injured reserve, maybe not. Let's get into that coming up here on the other side. Alex Barth is here. I'm Joe Murray. This is the Shaws and Star Market Patriots postgame show on the Safety Insurance 98.5 The Sports of Patriots Radio Network.
barring an incompletion or penalty here in the third quarter. Work from the eye, Frothingham, right hand down to the three-point stance to full back and give to Bernard. Run straight up the middle, and he drives the pile forward. He picks up a first down with a rush of 4 out to the 48-yard line.
Nice thing about being in midfield, you just flip sides.
Back here on the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots postgame show, and New England converted 12 first downs today, and with every first down, Credit Union Kids at Heart funds promising studies into new treatments for pediatric brain diseases. Learn more at cukidsatheart.org. Alex Barth here. I'm Joe Murray. Feel free to call in as well. 617-779-0985. We are burning the midnight oil. And did I love this quote here by Mike Vrabel. I wrote it down. I loved it so much. So many rats around here. I have layers to this one.
Yeah.
It goes back to earlier in the day, right? Oh, I'd love to hear it if we have it. But let's hear it. Let's hear this one more time here, Kevin, please.
Big picture, state of the team. How do you feel about this roster going into the regular season with a preseason review?
No, it was a different one.
There was a report today that Jalen Polk will have to have season-ending shoulder surgery. Can you add anything to that?
No.
I know you said that.
I don't know, other than I'd like to find out where some of these come from. Some of these rats around here, so we'll figure that out.
I know you said that you wanted to, or that you were going to finalize the offensive line once it becomes clear. How do you feel the competition at left guard is going? Do you feel that you guys are nearing a decision?
Full disclosure, I had that conversation with Zolak just earlier today, so I don't think any time from the time that I talked about it today with him till now has gotten any clearer. But if it does, I'll let you know.
Sorry.
No, I know. That's okay. That's why I was telling you. I only made that comment to him 8 hours ago.
That was a pregame interview.
Okay, pregame interview. Sorry.
Okay, so those were two separate things. Hearing that back now, because Zolak asked him about the offensive line in the pregame interview, but there was a separate thing in the pregame interview where Zoe asked about a report and Vrabel didn't take it well. And that Vrabel, Zolak asked about the report about Jennings and Duggar being, Patriots being willing to trade them, that report from Andrew Callahan and others. And then the other question there was about the Jalen Polk thing. So that's funny enough, he got annoyed with something else in the pregame interview when Nicole asked the question.
Okay, I'm sniffing around on that one.
Which part?
Is Polk leaking that information? Jordan Schultz had that report earlier.
Yeah.
I guess not a local guy.
No.
Was confirmed by some others. And earlier this week, you mentioned the Callahan about the Jennings Duggar, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But rats around here, is that, writers? Because to me,
no, I think he means whoever's telling the writers.
I think it's the players.
Players or whoever. Or somebody in the building talking,
players, something. But, when
people are spilling state secrets and he's not happy about it.
And they were last year, certainly.
Last year was...
That's what I'm trying to say. It was a loose ship, as we know.
Do you think they cared last year?
To that degree, no, because they wanted it to be loose and transparent, right? And use all the big buzzwords.
I don't think it's rats if you don't care that the information's out there. It's rats when you're telling people to keep their lips sealed and they're not.
Yeah, like, we don't know about Jalen Polk. Like, when don't you want them to make the roster decision on that? Wasn't there a report yesterday that the Steelers could be interested in Jalen Polk? I'm just saying, like, Vrabel saying that is a shot at the players. Whoever, if it was a player or an agent, they must have heard
Well, it's a shot at everybody.
That's what I'm saying. No, Vrabel took a shot.
Yeah.
And everyone should be aware.
Yes.
Including us, because I'm sniffing that one out. That, to me, is somebody in the building. Players, maybe they were doing it last year to the point. But there's multiple things that are being reported or leaked that Vrabel's not happy about. And quite frankly, I don't know what to believe at this point. Like, is Jalen Polk done for the year?
I mean, it makes sense just because he hasn't practiced in a week and a half. That's a player on the bubble. You feel like if he was healthy, he would be on the field. But no, to your point, I trust the Duggar Jennings thing, right? Andrew Callahan does a good job. I trust he wouldn't run with something just on speculation. Like, he has that.
Do you think the coach saying rats in the building in year one is something he should be doing?
If he's unhappy, if that's information that usually when the team leaks something, it's because they want it out there. They're trying to send a message to the player. They're trying to send a message to other teams. Hey, this player's available. Hey, we're not getting what we want for a trade, blah, 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 whatever. You're not really, as a team, leaking things out of the good of your heart, right?
There you go.
There might be some things that a team wants leaked because they want them leaked and they want them out there. They want their spin on it,
like
whatever the reason.
Smoke about Hendrickson and
sure,
other guys
whatever.
like that. Yep.
If it's stuff you don't want out there, and maybe there was a message behind the scenes given, if you're going to go to that extreme, and I don't know one way or the other, right? But if you're to go to that extreme, to me, that's after the message was given behind closed doors. So the fact that the Polk thing is the second report this week, maybe the Jennings-Duggar stuff gets out. He pulls everybody together behind closed doors. Hey, cut that out. Don't do that. Now the Polk report comes out. So now we got to go public with it to make sure everybody really gets the message.
Do you think it's a problem that this information's getting out there in the first place, though?
I don't know how much Jalen Polk going on IR hurts you.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Like, what's the big deal? Like, he called people out. What's the big deal, though?
The Jennings-Duggar one, maybe a little bit more. If you still think there's a chance you're keeping one of those guys and you don't want to have to answer the questions from that guy, or it's a matter of respect. You don't want that guy having to answer the questions about it. I could understand why maybe being a little annoyed with that one. Unless it's just outright wrong. Obviously, you don't want wrong information about there. You have a right to be upset about wrong information. If Jalen Polk is just going on IR, he wasn't making the team. That was clear. So I don't know how that necessarily changes the perspective outwardly. And it's not something they could hide, right? If, let's say they are taking calls on Jennings and Duggar and they ultimately don't trade them, well, nobody ever needs to know you were taking the calls. Jalen Polk's going on IR. That's going on the transaction wire. We all know Jalen Polk's going on IR. You can't keep that a secret.
All right, I'm just being talk show Joe there.
And I'm giving you the reporter perspective.
And now that I've talked about it, doesn't matter, Mike Vrabel. But maybe this is him, just putting people on notice.
Well, if it continues, you start to wonder, does it impact people's jobs? Like, that's ultimately would be the end game of it potentially becoming a factor.
All right, Alex. Well, let's get us caught up on everything. I know the Red Sox had a big night tonight. We'll get into more of the Patriots. Their preseason is officially over. We're on to the Raiders. We'll have more. Alex will get you caught up in
Lead in position for a field goal try, eschewing that notion with two receivers and a tight end left, one receiver right. Back to the right of Winston, takes the snap and retreats in the pocket. He throws it down the middle, and the pass can be intercepted by Duggar, who steps across the end line for a touchback. Some miscommunication. The receiver ran shallow to the front of the end zone. Winston threw it to the back of the end zone. The Patriots will take over with a touchback from the 20 on a fourth down attempt anyway.
Yep.
It's a 14-3 lead for the Giants.
All right, back here in the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots Postgame Show. Alex Barr's here. I'm Joe Murray. And this season, as part of their Apex Cares program, Apex Entertainment will be donating $100 to the New England Center for Children for every converted field goal. Every point, every dollar helps. For more information, go to apexentertainment.com. I do want to jump into Kyle Duggar in a second here, and we will talk with Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. Just anything on the kicking battle, and they have two kickers. One has kicked better than the other. I mean, I know you've been down there. You've been reporting on it. Borregales, like he's a draft pick. Is this something to monitor?
I mean, Vrabel didn't sound too upset with the miss tonight, but he had the miss, and this was on a clean operation. The miss last week was bad snap, bad hold, somewhere in there something went wrong. Yeah, it's tough. They're treating Borregales like he's the starter. He got the majority of the reps in Minnesota last week in practice. He got most, but not all of the kicks, but it was not a 50-50 split. Last week in the game in Minnesota, he attempts the field goal tonight. He attempts the extra point tonight. Nothing from John Parker Romo. I believe he also got all the kickoffs. I'd have to double check. I don't have that number in front of me, but I believe he got all the kickoffs. So they're treating him like he's a starter. I would say Romo has probably been slightly better over the course of the summer.
Floor versus ceiling, maybe, in this case.
Well, I also think, how far back are they going? If you go back to the spring, you could argue it's a tie because Borregales was significantly better in the spring. I don't know if they're going to go back that far. Frankly, I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm kind of torn on that to go back that far. Is it close enough that, hey, we invested a draft pick in this guy? The other guy was just here on the practice squad. We're going with the draft pick, and maybe that is about ceiling, like you said. Romo's been the better kicker this summer. Usage-wise, right now, it looks like it's going to be Borregales. And it's not like Borregales has been horrible. He just hasn't been as good as Romo.
Monitor that one. And listen, you know, what's a kicker going to net back these days? 6th, 7th round pick. Nick Folk was a 6th, 7th round pick, right, at one point?
7th round pick that was included in the pick swap in the Joe Milton trade.
Okay, so maybe that's an opportunity, but I'd like to, you know, identify one and maybe practice squad one.
Borregales got every kickoff tonight, by the way. Yeah, if you can get Romo on the... I don't think you're going to get Borregales on the practice squad.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get claimed.
No.
Yeah.
If you can get Romo on the practice squad, it's not a bad idea, and then you have the insurance.
I'd trade him to a team that needs him.
There are a few teams that need kickers. I know the Browns are one. I don't remember the rest of the list off the top of my head.
They have a boatload of 7th round picks, as you mentioned. Maybe they can swap
pick swap thing,
something to that degree. Kyle Duggar post-game had some interesting comments. I don't know if you have it. Do you have anything? Well, Kevin, you're just the best tonight. Let's hear from Kyle Duggar.
Kevin is rolling.
Working through the offseason, and you've been very forthcoming too with us throughout the course of the summer. Do you feel good about where you are right now physically, mentally?
I got a lot of work to do. A lot of room for improvement, and so that's what I'm focused on.
Do you feel good with what you put on tape so far this summer?
Nah, I have a lot more to improve on, so I'm gonna keep working to do that.
I know this is a big week for a lot of guys. Is there any sort of anxiety on your part about your future?
Nah. Things are gonna go how they're gonna go. I'm trusting God in it, and I'm gonna keep, taking opportunities I have to continue to get better. Like I said, get back to playing fast.
Has there been a dialogue back and forth with you and the coaches about why you've been playing so deep into preseason games?
Nah, there hasn't been.
You said there was some stuff that you'd still have to work on or improve on. Anything in particular that you think you could still work on?
Oh, for sure. I mean, learning a new playbook and getting used to these calls, being able to play fast and knowing what to expect, like things like that, take a little bit of time and they take reps. And so continue to work and watch the film and learn and grow, block destruction, things like that. Definitely have a lot of room for improvement.
Wow. A couple of things I want to ask you about here, Alex. Number one, he's trying not to think about it playing late in games. Asked if he feels good about what he's put on tape. He said he has a lot more to improve on, all the right things.
Yep.
No dialogue between him and the coaches, yet didn't we hear Vrabel talk about dialogue with other players?
Yeah, so at first I was like, that's pretty common. Usually it's just going in, hey, here's the plan for, here's the plan for tonight. They say it in the team meeting. But you're right. When he was asked about Keon White playing in the game, he said, there's some stuff I wanted Keon to work on. We talked about it. He was excited to play. He wanted to play more. So that one of the two feels notable. One of the two has to be notable because it's two different approaches with two different players, which, by the way, is part of what people said they liked about Vrabel coming into the season was this is not a guy that just coaches the team with a broad brush, right? He's very much can alter his approach on a player-to-player level. Maybe he thought Keon White was a guy that kind of needed to be talked through it. Kyle Duggar was a guy who was best if he didn't talk through it with, but the fact there are differences there, yeah, I think that stands out. And maybe it tells you they just don't feel as much to be on the same page with Duggar, if that makes sense.
Can you just talk about his cap implications and, If they do cut him, they have to eat some dead cap. And if they keep him, like what's better financially for the team?
So the best I understand, and the NFL cap is tough, and Pat's cap, Miguel Benson on social media does a great job. Based on what he said, best I understand, if they cut him now for this year, it's like $10,000 in the $10,000s. It's less than $100,000 the dead cap hit. They do lose some cap space. It's very minimal. It essentially nets out the same as if you keep them. What's relevant there is cap space carries over, so you don't open up any more to carry over. But in terms of the 2026 cap, and while they do have $60-ish million in cap space right now, they're currently projected to be over next year. Now, there are some things that will happen that will kind of balance that out, but they're not exactly going to be flush with cap space going into next season. They're going to need to maneuver it a little bit. It's, I think, $5 or $6 million credited to next year's cap if they don't cut Kyle Duggar this year. They get that money if they cut him after the season. They get that money if they trade him whenever, now or then. They don't get that money if they cut him. So it is financially beneficial for the Patriots to not cut Kyle Duggar right now. Trading him is different. If you can trade him, that helps. This is going to be his last season here. If he stays somehow, they're going to cut him after this season because then there's a significant financial reason to do it. Right now, it would cost them some money next year if they cut him.
I think they're testing him because I think there's still value. 2 interceptions in the preseason, say what you want.
Well, that one today was right to him on a 4th down. But
fortunately, we can only talk about what we've seen, right?
That is true.
Maybe there is a team that would bite. I thought he was a pillar. I don't feel that way today.
Well, look, if you're a team looking around, you're buying low on a player that's played at a high level. And if you think you know what's wrong, whether you think you can help him work through his ankle or you just think he needs a change of scenery or whatever, if you knew at this time last year Kyle Duggar could be had for a 7th, teams would be jumping all over that.
He did mention the speed, too. Wants to get faster.
Yeah, he's still not moving the same.
Maybe it's the ankles.
He's still not moving the same. I think it's at least partially physical. Now, is him being a step slower impacting him mentally because he's pressing? Maybe. But he's definitely a step slower. I don't think his ankle's entirely right.
All right, let's hear what the big boy has to say. Greg Bedard of Boston Sports Journal will be joining us here on the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots postgame show next here on the Safety Insurance 98.5 The Sports of Patriots Radio Network.
hands it off. And a run to the near side.
Turn up.
Try to turn upfield. Bernard spills to the turf, rolling out to the 44-yard line. Good run by the new Patriot, Micah Bernard.
I'm saying, try to turn it up. Be physical. Like the other backs have this preseason. Don't be getting out of bounds.
All right, back here in the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots Postgame Show. It's Alex Barth, Joe Murray, and, well, that was the unclogging of the gaps. Brought to you by Eastern Mass's leader in drain cleaning and pipelining, Drains by James. Slow Drain, Clog Drain. You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. Well, they give a poop about your pipes. Let's bring in Greg Bedard, he of the Boston Sports Journal. Greg, the preseason is over. Any big takeaways from you after watching tonight's game?
I think my big takeaway from this was, and I sort of alluded to this on Felger and Maz this week, this team has no depth. I mean, it's rough. I mean, that they got completely worked by the Giants' backups and third stringers, it just shows you where this operation is. And I'm not blaming, Mike Vrabel and Ryan Cowden and those guys. This is the situation you get in when, basically you're getting nothing from the 2024 draft a year ago. Like, those guys should, at least some of them, should be giving you meaningful depth, let alone, the drafts under Bill towards the end. I mean, this is where they're at. The Patriots are screwed if any of their starters go down. They don't have, a lot of NFL depth on this team in a lot of spots. And you better hope and pray that the Patriots have a lot of injury luck this year, or it's going to be a very long season.
Greg, in particular on and I agree with you on the depth point. It's a great point, particularly on the offensive line. It seems like those backup spots, center, guard, have been rotating throughout the summer. Saw Caden Wallace get less reps as the summer goes on. City So's come on a little bit. Cole Strange has been in and out. Did anybody there stand out to you as a player who's maybe made a push? Or, it feels like they might need to go out and add another tackle. Do you think they might need to go external to find a backup guard as well?
I'm less... I mean, look... We know what you're sort of trolling in this time of year as far as if you're looking for tackle depth. And maybe they do find a guy that is being let go that they think might be better than like a Vidarian Lowe or somebody like that. But remember, this is how the Patriots ended up with Vidarian Lowe and Devontae Jacobs a couple years ago.
Do you think there's a chance that there could be somebody better than those guys available? Because I just don't think those guys have looked great this summer.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, and that's why those guys get paid in the pro personnel department to sort of figure that out. Vidarian Lowe gets a bad rap. I actually don't think he's that bad. I think, we have to keep in mind how bad the coaching was over the past couple of years on the offensive line, and maybe he would be further ahead if he, hit the practice field earlier. I like Marcus Bryant. I think he has a chance. Those are sort of my two backup offensive tackles. Maybe you find something better than Lowe. I'm not holding my breath. That's normally not how it goes. I'm more worried about the internal depth. I mean, I like Ben Brown. I think he was, underrated last year, certainly in pass protection at center. He's shown a little bit of guard ability this summer, but they have nothing else besides that. Caden Wallace, Cole Strange, Tyrese Robinson, City So, Layden Robinson, Mekhi Butler, they should be gone. And, if Caden Wallace or Cole Strange is on the roster after the final cut down, I would be renting, not buying, because I think that's a spot. I think the Patriots will look for help at center and guard, and they might put that over tackle at this point.
Yeah, when it comes to Cole Strange, and you kind of just answered it, but is this the end of the Cole Strange era? It felt like he had a rough night tonight. It feels like he's been losing reps as the summer's gone on. Is this how this era ends?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is the end of the road for him. And, whether it's now or, after waiver claims or something like that, I think they're moving on. I mean, he's tried really hard. He has ability, just what they're looking for in terms of, football IQ, being able to think quickly on the inside, which is a little bit more of an issue than it is at like tackle. He doesn't have what they're looking for, and it's just a matter of time.
Greg, is the offensive line woes more about giving the guys an opportunity and they just don't have it? You mentioned the draft. Did they just draft bad? I know they brought in, Garrett Bradbury and Moses, but did they just expect more from some of these guys and just didn't get it, and they tried to address the needs?
Well, it's a good question. The Schweitzer retirement probably didn't help things. He probably would have been sort of the fifth guy on the inside there instead of like a Caden Wallace or a Cole Strange. Maybe even would have supplanted Ben Brown. Again, Schweitzer wasn't, I wasn't in love with that or anything like that. And I'm sure they weren't either. It's just, there's only so much you can do in one off season. I think if they could have it back, would they have gotten in on Joe Thuney? Yeah, probably. Maybe they did think that like a Caden Wallace and a Cole Strange, had some potential. Layden Robinson's a kid who, his talent is unquestioned. It's just he just hasn't figured things out, well enough to stay on the roster. And so, I think they tried. I think, what they did was underwhelming. They certainly tried on the tackle market with some of the free agents. The money just got silly for some of these guys that signed elsewhere. And they tried to make the best of it. And, I do think they have the pieces there to piece it together. I will say that, one of the best things about Josh McDaniels is his ability to game plan around an offensive line. There, again, of course, he had Tom Brady at the time, but they had some pretty crappy lines here that they got figured out, and it wasn't just Dante Scarnecchia. Part of it was Josh McDaniels, knowing how to sequence things to keep the defensive line off balance, keep the pass rush off a little bit, and he's going to have to do a lot of that this year.
Greg, to go over to the other side of the ball in that line, specifically the defensive tackles, the interior defensive line, it felt like they got run on tonight with the backups in there. I look at it, they have 4 locks in Barmore, Tonga, Williams, and I think Farmer just as a draft pick as a developmental player. Maybe Jeremiah Farms gets in there. Did anybody stand out to you? I think they probably need more than 4 guys there. A 5th guy probably helps with Barmore's injury history. Farmer's been banged up at times this summer. Has anybody stood out to you this summer, tonight, that can maybe help them? Has Jeremiah Farms shown to you enough? David Olajiga, the international pathway player. Pecco, who has some experience with Mike Vrabel from Tennessee. Do any of those guys look rosterable to you and guys that can provide depth in that spot?
I continue to like Farms. He just continues to show up, and he grades out well for me. I don't know how he's going to grade out tonight. Tonga's a guy who's really, impressed me this summer. I didn't know much about him, but, he was known more as a run stuffer, but he's also shown a lot in the pass rush. Josh Farmer has flashed at times. He's been a little bit underwhelming. He was one of those guys as sort of the draft nicks that, even like a Greg Cosell were really high on, and he sort of has underwhelmed me. Pecco, could he stick around just because he's a veteran and can do a few different things? It's possible, but you think you could get him to the practice squad? Right now I have 5 with Farms on there, along with Josh Farmer, but could they add a little bit more? Maybe, but now it all depends on what they keep on the end. I thought Truman Jones was a lock. Is he a lock now? Because right now I have 6 guys on the edge, which is a lot, but I think that, Swinson is underwhelmed a little bit. from the way he was sort of talked about during the draft process. Ponder has definitely shown up and is an NFL player. Truman Jones has flashed, but has he done enough to secure a roster spot? I'm not sure about that.
And just Kyle Duggar. Yeah, he has got 2 interceptions. He spoke after the game tonight as well. Mike Vrabel, we'll dig in some of the Vrabel stuff on the other side, but just Vrabel said he has talked to some of the players like Peppers and Keon White about their playing time. When they asked Duggar, he said he hasn't heard from the coaches. Should we look into anything to that? His answer there.
I think so. That's surprising that hasn't taken place. Vrabel did say he talked to Keon White about him playing tonight. I'm sure he talked to Jabril Peppers about wanting to see him with Craig Woodson tonight, but to have Kyle Duggar out there to the end of the last 2 preseason games and not to say anything to him, that's pretty rough and probably not a very good sign.
All right, we'll have more with Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. I do want to get into the Mike Vrabel's press conference. He had some interesting things to say here, Greg, which I want to get your opinion on. But first, Alex Barth is here, and he's going to give us the Sports Hub headlines.
Sports Hub.
Greg, I know it's about joint practices and, really as like talk show hosts, we can really only go by what you guys say because you're there and you can see what's going on. But I think this week you had, I don't want to use the word reservations, but when things came out, you were at least were high on the win total. And after watching a little bit, you've tempered your expectations a bit from what you've seen. What is it about tempering those expectations? Is it the depth, number one, the line, the quarterback play? What truly makes you kind of have reservations on the expectations for the team?
Number one by far is their depth. Like I just think if and I was just writing my column for tomorrow where I'm actually like going through and being like, how many real NFL players do they have on this team? I mean, because if they lose just some of the guys that I put together in terms of like, there's nothing really behind them. Drake May, Robert Spillane, Will Campbell, Morgan Moses, Michael Wenu, Steph Diggs, Hunter Henry, Travion Henderson, Christian Gonzalez, Harold Landry, Kaylavon Chason. I guess I could put, Milton Williams probably, in there, even though I think they have decent depth, with Tonga and, also, Farms in there. I'm not, Barmore, who knows what you're going to get with him. I'm not all that high on Keon White. He's basically like disappeared since Laramie Tunsil of the Commanders in the joint practice kind of stuffed him in a locker. And he was out there tonight. Vrabel said he's got things to work on. I don't think he started off pretty well, but I don't think he's had a very good summer. So the depth is the big thing. When I looked at it, like, you thought maybe, where there was a Cole Strange or a Caden Wallace, like somebody would emerge. I like Ben Brown as a depth piece at center and guard. But depth, if they get any major injuries, if they have bad injury luck, they're going to have a tough time competing. So that's number one, because you can't bank on really good injury luck. Maybe it happens. Could. I don't know. And then probably the second thing is, just May in his, development and what we saw in the preseason games. And it's tough for me to rationalize because I think he's been pretty good in the joint practices. He has not been good in the preseason games, missing easy bunny throws, missing reads that aren't all that complicated. Now, I do think it's going to be different in the regular season. I think the difference that you see in the joint practices to the preseason games is that McDaniels is using some scheme, and May is much more decisive with that when McDaniels is using a scheme. In the preseason games, they just kind of wing it. There's no scheme. And I think that Josh McDaniels will use everything possible, including Drake May's legs, to generate offense and score points. And so I have a lot of faith in Josh McDaniels to be able to get, Drake May up there. I just think it's going to be, I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, oh, well, he's got Josh McDaniels, he's got Mike Vrabel, like, here we go, huge year two leap. And while I think that's going to happen, I'm just not confident it's going to happen, in the first 4 games or maybe the first 8 games. And so I think there's still a pretty big learning curve for him, and I think it's just going to take time.
Greg, just to go back to talking about Keon White and him playing as much as he did tonight, does that, the fact he played as much as he did, do you question his roster status at all? Does this open the door to him maybe being somebody that's on the bubble, like we've talked about with Kyle Duggar and Anthony Jennings as late as they've played into games? Or do you see this, like Vrabel said, simply they wanted him to get more work in?
I do think part of it, I think a lot of it was he just needs more work. And, Keon's a guy that, and I've even seen this in some of the joint practices, like, some of the issues that they've had on the edge, in the running game in these joint practices, sometimes it's Keon White. And you remember he's freelanced here in the past. And, could there be some, patience running thin a little bit with him? I could see that. It wouldn't shock me if they subtly put him on the block, because I do think a lot of this first year, and Vrabel has sort of hinted at this, it's about, finding out which guys are their guys. And in a lot of ways, you think Keon White could be that guy. Is he in actuality, now that they've had him in the building for so long? I'm not sure. So, would I be shocked if all of a sudden we hear that, Keon White is dealt for a 4th-round pick? No. I mean, because I think with, some of their youth that they have behind them, maybe they like Elijah they might like Elijah Ponder better than Keon White at this time. I don't know that. It wouldn't shock me. And, like we talked about Truman Jones earlier, he's flashed. Like, do they just say, I don't know if Keon White's ever going to be our type of guy, so maybe we just move on and we play these other guys? I think we could see that at a lot of positions on this team, and that's what I talk about when looking at this roster and how many guys did they actually want to keep on this roster. And I think it's up in the air.
All right, Greg, I have to play Talk Show Joe here for a minute. Mike Vrabel after the game, when asked about Jalen Polk earlier this week about the trades between Jennings and Duggar. I'd like to find out where some of these reports are coming from. Some of these rats around here, we'll figure it out. I have a lot of layers to this one. Someone's leaking information. Is it a player? Is it an agent? Is it stuff in-house he doesn't like? That seems like, a shot to wake everybody up about speaking. I just wanted to get your opinion on maybe what he, and let's not forget last week too, with the Stephon Diggs stuff and Phil Perry back and forth. I don't think he likes the reports that are coming out there, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'll have to go ask people in Tennessee, like, how he handled this stuff. I mean, I do find it a little bit comical because, let's face it, every NFL coach leaks to some degree. I know that Mike certainly has his favorite, reporters, especially on the national scale. Bill Belichick leaks stuff all the time, and he was the guy who was most paranoid about people talking and saying the wrong things, but he leaks stuff all the time. I don't know why. I don't know why this is getting under his skin. I mean, I can almost guarantee you that Jalen Polk report came from the agent. The reporter who had it out there, what's his name? Jordan Schultz.
Jordan Schultz.
Yeah, he's a big agent guy.
Yep.
So, I mean, look, it's on Mike to shut people up. I mean, maybe he hasn't set the tone that like everybody needs to shut up, and maybe that's something he needs to address.
All right. He's Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. I have to ask you one more. Raiders are coming into town. Pete Carroll. Obviously, we know about Josh McDaniels' time. Max Crosby on the other side. Even Tom Brady is part owner. I just wanted to ask, who has more motivation here? Is it Josh McDaniels and the Patriots with Drake May and Mike Vrabel? Or is it the Raiders with Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll? And, it's fascinating, the two teams, right? And I kind of wanted to get your take on who has more motivation heading into week one.
I would think the Patriots, being at home, and I think that Josh McDaniels certainly will have a lot to prove to the Raiders and the owner in particular, with what went down there. But it is an interesting mix. I mean, that's one of the games when I, sort of changed my prediction and progress. The Raiders game was one I always had for them. I don't know. I mean, part of the reason is what's difficult about this, because you have two new coaching staffs, all the way around. And, including, not only is it Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham is his defensive coordinator, but you have Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator back in the NFL, and he's completely unpredictable. Like, I have a lot of faith in in Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels and their ability to game plan against teams where they know a lot, they have the film, break it down, they'll find the edge, they'll win in the margins for the Patriots. I don't think they can do that week one. I think there's way too much unknown about the Raiders. And, when you look at Genty and Brock Bowers, they have a lot of talent. Of course, Max Crosby.
And Gino. Gino beat him last year.
Gino beat him last year. I just think that the Raiders have the ability with their coaching staff and their talent to maybe get off to a little bit of a quicker start. But, it'll be great to watch.
All right, he's Greg Bedard. Just so you know on that one, the line was Patriots 3.5. It's gone down to 3. So just like you have maybe, come down from your win total, Vegas also has moved the line just a little bit. So you're on the side of the bookmakers, Greg, which is always the right side.
Don't forget about a Landon Roberts on the Raiders, too.
Oh, God.
A Landon Roberts revenge game.
Landon Roberts back in Foxborough.
Love that one.
For the first time since he caught the touchdown pass, maybe.
Maybe. All right, Greg Bedard, Boston Sports Journal. Thank you for staying up late with us, man. And we'll talk to you week one.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Greg Bedard, Boston Sports Journal. Of course, you can hear his breakdown with Felger and Maz. Big Boy Tuesdays. You can hear those there. Let's break it down ourselves.
Let's break it down.
Alex Barth, a lot to get into. Oh, I had one for you. We just asked Greg what his few top tier issues or concerns are. Let's give ours.
Let's do it.
We'll do that coming up next. Alex Barth here. I'm Joe Murray on the Safety Insurance 98.5 The Sports Hub Patriots Radio Network.
strengthen the roster every way we can. There's a couple options, right? You can try to trade for players. You could try to claim some players next week. So, again, we're always going to be trying to strengthen the roster, and that's what we'll try to do here over the course of the next 10 days.
All right, back here in the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots postgame show. Hey, if you're up with us, come hang out. 617-779-0985. Alex Barth is here. You can check out all his work at 985thesportshub.com. I'm Joe Murray. So we highlighted that a little while ago, and you wanted to bring it back to the table here, Alex. One of the first things, he talked about the short week, having enough guys. I wrote it down. Then he talked about roster, wire, and trades. Got into building and development and said the next 4 days are really big days.
Well, he gets asked, how do you feel about the roster? And then instantly goes to trades in the waiver wire, which tells me they're going to add externally. And not that it's where you want to be, but I do think there are places where either from having players that maybe aren't NFL caliber players to simply not having the depth, period. There's a couple places they probably need to add externally, or at least look to add externally, engage the market and see what's out there.
This brings up the exercise I wanted you to perform.
Yeah.
So give us your tiers.
When I say that, the places they need to add externally aren't necessarily the same as what I think are their weakest positions, right?
Absolutely agree. If a wide receiver if a tight end became available.
Not even that. I think like defensive tackle, right? I just talked about it with Greg.
Yep.
Barmore, Milton Williams, Kyrus Tongas had a really good summer. Like, that's a good group.
But depth-wise, they need
who's up after them.
Exactly.
It looked like Isaiah Ayton was making that run. He gets hurt last week, goes on IR.
Pico's a Jag vet. He is what he is.
Right. He has some experience with Vrabel, but so that's not something I'd call one of their bigger weaknesses, but it is somewhere where an external addition may be necessary.
Just to bring it up, Barmore, everything looks like he's on track.
Yeah, but even like blood clots aside, he's had a history of injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And Milton Williams is proving to be a full-time player.
Yep.
Which he's never been. So absolutely good point on the waiver wire there. I'll just give you my tiers.
Yeah.
The line still is. This is
in terms of
season-wide.
need for addition or just biggest weakness?
Weakness on the team.
Okay.
I still think number one is offensive line.
Yes, 100%. I'm with you.
2 is depth. Depth's a huge issue everywhere. You mentioned defensive tackle. I do think they're strong in the secondary, at least. Maybe third, fourth, fifth corner. Like when it
even
gets to
that one dries up a little bit.
Right.
It's safety in particular. They're not going to keep Kyle Duggar. It's Peppers, Hawkins, Woodson, and if you want to count Brendan Schooler.
Yep.
So
I like Pettis, but maybe they can sneak him in and he'll be a player.
He doesn't look. Yeah. So Pettis is a tough one because he's been good in the kicking game this summer. He had a promising season last year. He plays in the box, which if you're going to move on from Kyle Duggar, you don't really need another free safety. You need another box safety behind Jabril Peppers. But they haven't used him like you'd usually use a rosterable player so far in this camp. Like when they go to that second defense, it's Duggar and it's Marcus Epps. He's not really out there. He's only out there with the second team. I asked Scott Booker about Del Pettis earlier this week at practice. He didn't have anything bad to say about him, but you compare it to the way some of the other coaches were talking about some of the other players.
Just the guy?
Wasn't a glowing review.
Yeah. My last one's run defense. I think we've explained that. They've struggled the last few years. It looks like they've identified it, but the depth. So offense, both lines and depth are my 2 biggest issues. What do you got?
Offensive line is number 1. Offensive line is number 1 with a bullet. They were not going to be able to fix their entire offensive line from last year to this year. I understand that. I never thought their offensive line was going to become great in one offseason. I would have liked to think they made a little more progress than they did. And some of that is reflected in the depth. I think if your starting 5 is Campbell, Wilson, I actually think Ben Brown might end up being a better starting center for them than Bradbury, but Campbell, Wilson, center, Onwenu, Moses. That's a representative group. You're still probably bottom half of the league, but can you climb out of the bottom third and would what Greg just talked about, Josh McDaniels can usually scheme things to help the offensive line. Like, if that's the 5, I think you're okay. You're going to get by. But it becomes a Jenga tower after that. You start pulling 1-2 pieces out of that group, and what are the odds all 5 guys are going to play all 17 games? It's a physical position. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. So the depth is what really worries me about the offensive line. It's not as bad as it was last year right now on paper. It can get back there, I think, sooner than people expected when training camp began.
Okay, there we go.
So that would be number 1.
Number 1, number 2?
Number 2, I'm with you on the run defense. I'm nervous about the run defense. You mentioned Milton Williams proving he's a full-time player. He's done that in a couple preseason games. I don't know whether he can or can't defend the run. I just don't know. He didn't do it in Philly. He wasn't asked to do it. He was a passing down specialist. They got small on defense this offseason, Joe. And there's a trade-off with that. They got quicker, they got more explosive, and they wanted to do that. It's not just they got smaller because they got worse, but I think their secondary is going to be legitimately hard to throw on when everybody's healthy. The problem is you need a reason for teams to throw. You need a deterrent against running the ball. What you can't have happen is what happened last year in London, where the Jaguars said, all right, we'll just run the ball on you 12 times in a row, and we're going to be capable of doing it. We're going to be able to move the ball that way. So those are the clear 1 and 2. After that, I'd say there's a drop-off to 3. I was kind of going by position. If we want to include depth as an overarching topic, I would say yes, the depth worries me. Specifically, if I can give you one more spot where the depth really worries me, it's linebacker. I actually feel pretty good about Robert Spillane in that starting role. After Robert Spillane, there's not a lot there. And that's a very important role in this defense.
We saw it last year, too.
Yeah. Well, it's at linebackers an even more pivotal role now, just the way this system works. You have to be able to play sideline to sideline. You have to be able to fit against the run. Jack Gibbons can fit against the run. I don't know if he can play sideline to sideline. Christian Ellis can play sideline to sideline. He's not. He's a coverage player. He's not really a player who's going to show up against the run.
You got one more for us?
One more linebacker?
No,
one more.
3. So you had 1 was obviously the offensive line.
The offensive line.
2 is
the run defense.
And linebackers.
And linebackers after Spillane. I feel good about Spillane. It falls off pretty sharply after him. They need him to play 17 games. If he's not playing 17 games, they're going to be in trouble in whatever games he's not on the field for.
It's a good one. I like the line. Maybe that goes with the run defense overall.
It all kind of goes back to depth, honestly. Yeah. Like, depth is... that's why I didn't include depth, because it's all depth related.
I think Vrabel knows.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To go back to that comment. Yeah, that's why I wanted to play that to start this segment, because...
He knows.
They know they don't have enough NFL caliber players right now.
Which leads us to the next topic. Last year's draft class.
Yes.
And I do want to just highlight Javon Baker a little bit. I think he got an opportunity to make the team.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I just don't know if he is going to. But let's get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I think he's a very fascinating player to talk about.
He is.
So we'll get into that coming up here on the other side. Alex Barth, he'll tell you the score in the Red Sox game tonight when they played the New York Yankees. But first, let's pause 10 seconds for station ID here on the Safety Insurance 98.5 The Sports, a Patriots Radio Network. Postgame show. Alex Barth is here, everybody. You can check out all his work, 985thesportsup.com.
Almost done with takeaways. Those will be up on the website probably soon after we get off the air here. Or tomorrow morning.
Alex does this thing. I always tell him this, but you could look at me straight in the eye while you're typing about something.
Sometimes I don't want to lose the thought.
It reminds me of a like a cartoon character. I'm trying to think of what it is. When like they're doing something but looking at you. You have that ability, which during draft night, I was like, you're actually giving me the names of guys and what school they went to while you're writing up an article.
Draft night's another beast.
Ooh. Should we get into the draft of last year?
Yeah, let's do it.
We were on. We did the draft together.
I did start. You know what I was doing today? So I came in. I was on the pregame show at 5:30. Game doesn't start until 8. You know what I was doing in between?
What's that?
I put out every year before college football season starts my watch list for Patriots draft picks.
Ooh.
Started putting that together.
Oh, well, I'm interested in knowing that one because
hopefully they do a little better than last year.
Well, football's week 0, I believe, starts this weekend.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that. All right, this is the full list of the 2024 draft class.
Yes.
Drake May, for the most part, he was the of the top 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He was the top 3. He was the third selected, right?
Third guy, yep.
And then it was J.J. McCarthy after that.
Penix.
Oh, Penix, that's right. And then J.J.
I called
McCarthy.
that.
That's right. You did. I know you did. So, as of right now, they're building around him, and they need to get it right. So right now, I think that's their best draft pick.
Shown some promise. Sure, for now, check the box.
Jalen Polk.
He's either going to be on IR or he's getting cut. He's not making the team. The report right now is he's on IR. Mike Vrabel did not confirm it, so that's why I kind of couched that. But 12 catches last year was not enough. Had that weird press conference earlier this summer where he refused to say last year was not good enough. I just don't really know if that situation is salvageable.
Do you think he was ruined by last year? Where I'm going with that is, Alex, this kid was an elite talent. He played, went to a national champ. He did play with 2 other top, McLean, I know, hurt his neck recently, and Roma Dunze still trying to figure it out. So, of the 3, McLean's probably had the most success, right? McMillan, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
McMillan. Polk, though, is it the injuries? Is it last year? Is it?
It's a little bit of everything. I say this every year when we do the draft. It's nature and nurture. Drafting the right players half the battle. You've got to develop them. I think the coach is playing some mind games with him. I think the injury didn't help. I think he never got over the heel-toe play against Miami, which you got to get over it. That's part of being an NFL player. That's on him. Maybe it wasn't all there between the ears. There's just a lot that went wrong. There's a lot of slices in that blame pie.
We've talked about Wallace and Robinson. They're both on the bubble.
Wallace is on the bubble. Robinson is not making the team. I don't even think he's on the bubble.
Marcellus Dial, Joe Milton, Jaheim Bell.
So Marcellus Dial would have made the team had he not gotten hurt. He was their starting gunner last year. He was good in that role. He looked like he was going to be back in that role this year. Tore his ACL, so there's nothing you can do about that. There is something to be said. You had, what did they make, 10 picks, 11 picks last year? Second best pick is your 6th round gunner.
I know. And then Joe Milton traded, so we'll see. And Jaheim Bell, he's fighting for a team.
You did miss Javon Baker.
That's what I was going to get into.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bell, though, do you think he makes the team?
He might be on the practice squad. I don't think he makes the team. He just hasn't done a lot.
Just wonder if they keep 4 tight ends because McDaniels likes that.
I think that Fotheringham's probably ahead of him, and a guy that played for McDaniels in Vegas.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so who would the 4? Who are you talking about? Because it's Henry, Hooper, Westover's going to make it as the fullback.
Yep.
I think Fotheringham, if they keep 4, is probably the guy.
Bell, though, I still think is a project, and I wouldn't give up on him just yet. But he isn't making an impact at all, really.
Yeah.
The Javon Baker. Okay, let me bring up a couple of things about him. As far as getting the opportunities, he's not making plays in games.
No. Not on offense.
You have seen him in practice. He's made some plays. He's really grinding. Vrabel's working with him. My biggest issues with him last week, ball to the end zone that was a little bit thrown hard by Dobbs. He stopped on the route, right? He fought through everything. He did everything right. He got to the back of the end zone. He flinched, and the ball would have been there if he kept going. That's on him. That's on him. Today, alligator arms.
Yeah.
It's just he's got the routes. He fights hard. He's got grit, right? A chip on his shoulder. He's got all those things. He can't complete plays.
Physically, he has all the talent. There's just still too many mental lapses there in his game. He's been great on special teams. He made a great play tonight.
He dropped the pass, and then the next play
he pushes the Giants player into the returner, which is not easy to do.
But that's brownie points,
and that's a great play. But I don't know that he's their. Well, Brendan School is their best gunner, but they're opposite that. Their second best gunner, right? Mac Hollins can do that. They have some other corners that can do that. Part of the draw is, okay, if he can be good enough, and then there's the upside at receiver that lends you to keeping him, I just don't know that you're seeing enough of that upside at receiver because there's too many drops or bad routes in this and that. He had a strong start to camp, and that created all these opportunities. I don't think he gets these opportunities without the start to camp he had. I just don't know. He was making plays against the threes. Great. He was making some plays against the twos, but it gets harder as you go, and maybe we're just kind of seeing where the ceiling is for Javon Baker.
Just quickly, I think Baker can develop in the league. I don't know if he can do it here. Okay? Josh, Keyshawn Boogie did, right? Like some guys did. He needs to make plays. He's not. And I don't know if that's practice squad worthy. Like this kid Lutz or some of these other guys. Just looking at some of these other wide receivers.
Jeremiah Webb. So,
yes.
John Giles is going to make the practice squad because he's very useful on the scout team.
They love him. They went to him how many times, right?
Big guy, plus athlete. Like, he's going to help when you play DK Metcalf, right? He's going to be a guy that can simulate DK Metcalf on the scout team. I think Jeremiah Webb's going to make the scout team just because he's earned it.
Yeah,
he's looked good, right? And he can be a valuable scout team player, too. He's kind of shifty, a little smaller. Are you going to keep 3 receivers on the scout team? Javon Baker is kind of the ideal profile of the guy you keep on the scout team.
Yeah.
Ton of physical talents, just isn't putting it all together, or the kind of guy you keep on the practice squad, I should say. So I'm not against him making the practice squad. They're going to keep Giles. Feels like they're going to keep Webb. Do they keep 3 guys at one position? They've done it before, keeping 3 guys at one position on the practice squad. But if you're also going to carry 6 receivers, that's a lot of receivers.
Heard anything on Kyle Williams?
No.
I'll tell you, whatever I've seen in a game, he's gotten open.
He's been great. He's been great, and hopefully he doesn't miss too much time, Joe. To go back to the point about Jalen Polk and nature versus nurture with the draft, and how much does the setting impact what the player ultimately becomes? How many times have we seen receivers have a promising camp, get hurt late in the summer, miss the first few weeks, and it throws them off for the rest of the season?
Oh, man, that's a good story right there.
What I really hope is Kyle Williams doesn't have to go on IR. Because if he does, he gets hurt in the Minnesota game. He misses this week. He misses next week. Because there's just no game. There's nothing to do. And then if he goes on IR, he's now gone 6 weeks without catching a pass. After making tremendous progress. Like, frankly, one of the stories I don't think has been talked about enough this summer, just to go to the other side of the ball for a second, if you allow me to cross offense and defense, Kayvon Chason is another guy, lackluster career, looked like a bust of a first-round pick, comes here, awesome out of the gate in camp, gets hurt, and it's like, oh boy, there goes that momentum. That's a shame. That could have been fun to follow. Comes back, boom, picks up right where he left off, and he's been great since.
Passed Keon White this week, at least at practice.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot.
Like Epps couldn't make that jump.
Right.
Back. There's other guys who just haven't been able to.
I just really hope Kyle Williams had a really, really good summer. It just sucks because the production wasn't there with the process because Josh Dobbs kept missing him. It's going to really be unfortunate if on a Josh Dobbs missed throw nonetheless, he misses this time and it's a setback. I really hope that's not the case because it looked like they had something with him.
All right, Alex, it's time to land the plane, baby.
Let's land that plane.
We'll land it. We'll get a quick preview of the Vegas Raiders Week 1 as we wrap up the preseason here on the Safety Insurance 98.5 The Sports Hub Patriots Radio Network. All right, final segment here on the Shaw's and Star Market Patriots postgame show. Alex Barth is here. I'm Joe Murray. Of course, you can find all of Alex's stuff, 985thesportshub.com. He's doing pregame today. He did pregame and postgame today, which is outstanding. Here I am putting you over right now, Alex.
Appreciate it.
You have the Sunday, what is it, Saturday this
Sunday
week?
kickoff.
Is it on Sunday, though, every week?
Yeah, not back this week, so we'll be back Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day week, Sunday kickoff with Cerrone Battle?
Yep.
And you also do a podcast with Matt Doloff?
Yep, Patriots Hub podcast. We'll have a reaction episode tomorrow.
And you have an article coming for next year's potential college football Patriots.
That'll drop at some point next week. We're working on that. I watched some Nick Harbor tape today. I got all excited.
Okay, well, I'm ready for college football this weekend.
I'm very excited.
Because it's the little appetizer before week one. So next Thursday, a week from today, the season opens up, right? The opening night? I'm sorry, following week. Yeah, I'm
2
sorry.
weeks from today. They have this dead week now.
I have this next weekend is Labor Day week, even though it is. I can't get over the hurdle that there's a whole nother week.
I don't like it. They gotta, when they go to 2 preseason games and 18 regular season games, they should take this week. And what I think they should do, because they're eventually going to go to 8 playoff teams per conference, there'll be no more buys. There should be a bye week between the end of the regular season and the beginning of the playoffs.
All right, well, I brought this up to Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. The Raiders will come to Gillette Stadium. I would say, number one, the Patriots' struggles at home are real. 3 wins, right, in the last couple of years. That's number one for me. Number 2, Geno Smith at the helm. At quarterback, they traded for him this year. They drafted Ashton Genty in the first round. They brought in Raheem Mostert as a power back. So there's your 2-back system. Brock Bowers is their top guy offensively. Had an incredible season a year ago. But they're short at wide receiver. We know about Jacoby Myers, but they're trying a bunch of other guys. And we'll see. Some of the names are like Philip Dorsett, just to give you a couple of names here. But Chip Kelly's here, right? Pete Carroll's a part of it. So I mentioned Tom Brady's a part owner who's been going to this thing. Geno's talked about that they think people are taking them lightly. West Coast to East Coast, 1 o'clock game, week 1. The line's already moved in favor of the Raiders. I asked earlier, who do you think has more to prove? It probably is the Patriots. They probably they have more to prove. I just think, though, they have a team that was once coached by Josh McDaniels, Max Crosby, Will Campbell. Those things are all real, and I think the Patriots are going to struggle.
Brock Bowers is the one that really worries me. They got beat by tight ends for a couple more touchdowns tonight. They've struggled to cover tight ends all preseason. That goes back to last year. Now, they haven't had a fully healthy secondary, but Brock Bowers is somebody who can wreck a game for you if you let him. They had Marcus Jones on TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota. I like Marcus Jones. I really do. I think he's a good player. He's 5'8". There's limitations that come with that. He cannot be covering tight ends. He plays very physically for his size, but for his size. I wonder if we see an old Belichick trick to put Carlton Davis, the big physical corner, on Brock Bowers and essentially treat him like a wide receiver. They can afford to do that because, to your point, the Raiders don't have a ton of wide receiver depth. Jacoby Myers is still good. Be a Christian Gonzalez. You put Christian Gonzalez on him. I trust Alex Austin or Marcus Jones. You pick whatever you think is the better matchup. I trust that guy and whoever the Raiders' second wide receiver is. If they can shut down Bowers, they should have a chance. Like Max Crosby traditionally rushes off the right tackle. Maybe they change that to try to take advantage of a rookie in this game, but we might not get a ton of Max Crosby versus Will Campbell. It might be Max Crosby versus Morgan Moses. Their secondary's pretty thin. There may be some opportunities to throw the ball if you can get Crosby in this front blocked. It should be a close game. The Patriots should not look outmatched. I don't think it's a clear win for them, but I'd be disappointed if they look clearly outmatched against the Raiders.
All right, my prediction for the season. I took the under 8.5.
Yep.
I think the Patriots go 7-10, but I think that they look like an improving team. I think they become an attractive team. And next year, I do think that people will want to play for them because they've seen progression. And I have them at 7-10. But again, right, the games we think they could win, they could lose. There's games we think they could lose, they could win. They're going to be that type of team this year. I think depth ultimately gets them.
I'm in that 8 to 9 win range. If the injuries really start piling up, that number comes down. Some of it is their schedule. It's not good. They play a lot of bad teams. And Mike Vrabel said from the beginning, he said day one, the first goal he has, not the only goal, the first goal he has in changing the culture is to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. If he can check just that box in year one, taking advantage of bad football alone might be worth 6 wins with this schedule.
Just want to emphasize the comments or motto from Vrabel this year was effort and finish.
Yep.
I think when it comes down to cut down day and making moves for their roster, I think you're going to have to look at it as who are guys who give effort and who are guys who can finish. I will tell you, after saying all that, I don't think Javon Baker is one of those guys. No. I do think he can be a player, but he hasn't done enough. All right, that's it. I want to give some thanks here. Our crew over at the Meadowlands, Mark Capello, Dennis Knudsen, Tyler Knudsen, and Mike Perry. And here at our Waltham studios, our intern, he's doing an awesome job, Luke Arnpriester. Our studio technician, Kevin Maggiore, and our executive producer who got all the audio and highlights